I'm Nick Westergaard, and this is On Brand, helping you tell your story. The strongest brands don't shout. They earn trust over time. That's how Nikki Little approaches her work. She's the CMO and co-owner at Franco, a women-owned, Detroit-based integrated communication agency with more than 60 years of history. After a full-circle career that took her from early agency life to leading social and communications teams, Nikki now helps shape Franco's future with a purpose-driven, human-first approach to brand building, storytelling, and leadership. My interview with Nikki is coming right up, but first.
You enjoy podcasts. We know because you're listening to one. Hi, I'm Jason Falls, the executive producer of the Marketing Podcast Network. We love podcasts too, so much so that in addition to providing you with the great episode you're listening to, we also help businesses, brands, and even individuals produce their podcasts. MPN Studios offers podcast consulting and production services to help you get you or your business its very own podcast. We've helped dozens of smart people, advertising agencies, and brands develop podcasts. All you do is record your content or interview. We take that and deliver a professionally produced audio or video episode, complete with show notes, transcriptions, and even promotional clips to use on social media. And our monthly subscription prices are hard to beat. If you or your company are jonesing to have your own podcast to establish thought leadership, drive business leads, or just have fun talking about your business or topic of choice, we'd love to help. Learn more at marketingpodcasts.net/studio. That's marketingpodcasts.net/studio.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Nikki Little, welcome to On Brand.
Thank you. And I have to say, I think that's my favorite intro of all time. I want to steal that and use that for any other speaking or podcast thing that I do. So good.
There you go. There you go. We'll package it all up and you can just send it along with you. So you talk about trust being built over time. And it makes me think that speaking of recordings, there's another partial recording of this interview that we started a couple weeks ago.
We're round 3 here, Nick. The universe has not been on our side.
Oh, that's right, because you were sick before that.
I was sick. The power went out, and today we were just lamenting about the frigid weather and kids off school. So, but we're here and we're making it work.
We're going to make this happen.
Yes.
But we're gonna also go with it, knowing that kids could walk in. I think that's such an important part of personal brand building too.
It is, yes. And it really translates well to what we're going to talk about today is just that authenticity, that being real, being relatable, that trust of even if I have a kid walking behind me, that doesn't mean that I am not trustworthy or able to do my job or what I need to do.
So I'm often asked for a brand that makes me smile, and because I ask everybody else that, and
right.
I'm always afraid of being put on the spot, but I'm going to volunteer one that's directly related to this. I was just listening to Kylie Kelsey's podcast,
Yes.
Not Gonna Lie, and it was her interview with Paige Beckers, the recent episode, and in it, as she was doing her introductory patter, she had kids in and out of there asking questions. And I'm like, I love that they left that in, that it was there. It's, that even she said, of course, I'd asked an hour ago if she wanted to play and didn't. And now once recording, that's when you get it all. But I think that's such a great, it's just a nice bit of what you were just talking about with authenticity.
And you've probably read about this too, but the Gen Zs, the younger generation, I think even our generation, we don't want to see the staged, the polished, the perfected content. We want real. What is real? Those are the people who are relatable. And I have a couple examples of brands that make me smile or brands that I really relate to, but that's the common theme there, is that they are relatable. They are not perfectly polished. I mean, sure, they're prepared, right? And they, whatever it might be. So there needs to be kind of that balance of preparation with reality and authenticity.
So, when you look at brand building today, what's the first thing that brands have to get right before they can worry about campaigns, channels, or creative?
Yeah, it's what we kind of started talking about. It's the audience. You have to intimately understand your audience, because we as consumers have so many choices between brands now. So you have to truly understand your audience to create a brand that is worth paying for. And then, throughout that brand building process, I also think it's really critical to understand that brand consistency across channels, it's paramount. So I like to say that brand building, it's an always on, a multi-channel system. It's not just a logo and slogan one-time campaign. And I know you'll identify this because you are also identify with this because you're a Brené Brown fan, as am I. But her recent book, Strong Ground, talks a lot about the core and the importance of the building your foundation, building your core so that you can then build on other areas. So that applies to brand building too, because brands need to have a solid core before they can start the brand building process. So what does that mean in branding terminology? So that's knowing, why do we exist? What challenge or problem do we solve? Who's our audience, of course? What's our brand personality? What makes us different? And then I think even more important than that, how do we back up what makes us different? So once you have that brand core defined, then you can translate it, tailor it to your audiences across channels. So I think one important thing to keep in mind, though, it's scary to say this out loud, but it's very true. Brand creators don't have full control over their brands, because we are at the mercy of what consumers say about us online, what content creators share, what AI says, etc. So brand monitoring, reputation monitoring, listening, and then responding when appropriate, it's also a critical part of brand building today.
So you talked about kind of that always on control being a myth, but we in the intro talked about it, not being confined to a moment, that it's built over time.
Right.
How do brands show up consistently without being repetitive or losing some of that personality?
I think it goes back to building that core and defining, like absolutely knowing who you are, not trying to be anyone different, and then being consistent. So I hear what you're saying though about like that repetition versus the consistency. So again, I think, I know we're going to get into storytelling a little bit, but it's figuring out, how do you tell those authentic stories? How do you become a brand that is trustworthy, that people want to align with, that they want to be part of, that they want to spend their hard-earned money on? And then figuring out how to translate those stories on the various channels, whether in person, whether online. But it just all comes back to that truly knowing who you are as a brand and not trying to be anything different or inauthentic. And I even catch myself saying inauthentic because at some point I feel like that became such a buzzword. It was like authenticity was so important for years and years. Then it was like authenticity is such a buzzword. I really think we've come full circle back to that though, because again, like people want to align with brands that they care about, that they understand, that make some sort of impact, have some sort of value for them. And how do you do that? That's by being authentic and trustworthy.
So we talk about it always being on, and brands are more accessible, but so are the critics. And your background is in really integrated communication. From your perspective, how does the critical environment that brands find themselves in, um, how do we plan for that?
Yeah. So I mean, we have more direct access to brands than we ever did, right? So like we're talking about, it's good and bad. So detractors can create a lot of noise. Look at what happened with Cracker Barrel when they changed their logo, right? That turned out to be a lot of AI bots. And that's a whole other topic that we could have a completely separate conversation on, but it doesn't matter, right? Because the detraction, the negativity was so strong related to that they ultimately reversed what they were doing with their logo. So, again, I feel like I'm going to keep saying this, and I will gladly stay on my soapbox about this for this conversation, but it's the trust, transparency, and authenticity that are critical when it comes to building brands today, because people see straight through the BS. So if you make a mistake, you have to own it. If you know what you're doing and you know you're going to take some risks and potentially make a lot of people mad, but it's a strategic decision, own up to it. I think a really good example of that is the campaign last year with Gap American Eagle and Sydney Sweeney and the Good Jeans campaign. They knew exactly what they were doing. They knew they were going to make some people mad, and they didn't apologize for it because it was very strategic. They owned up to it. They were being authentic to what they were trying to do. And then guess what? They sold a lot of jeans. So it can work when it is authentically done. So, I just think the stakes are so much higher now too, because there is so much accessibility. It's hard to keep things under wraps. So it's going back to PR 101, right? Have a crisis plan, have a backup plan, have a plan B, whatever you want to call it, because ultimately things might not go exactly how you planned it when it comes to any type of brand initiative, brand campaign, brand rollout. So you have to be prepared for people to react negatively and or for things to come out before you're ready for them to come out.
You've come back to, as you've mentioned, trust and being on that soapbox. What role does storytelling play in trust building?
Yeah. So, again, you have to have that trust. If trust is absent, you cannot build a brand that people want to align with. You can't effectively communicate. And then kind of looking at it from a, personal perspective too, you can't be a great leader. So with storytelling for brand building, it's more than why are we different or unique? You really have to answer not only why should I care, but why should I trust your brand? You have to answer those questions for your audience through your content, through your storytelling. And then I mentioned this at the beginning, but that storytelling has to translate across all your marketing efforts. It can't just live on social. It can't just live in email. You can't be saying one thing through one channel and saying something differently through another channel. So it's again, kind of balancing that consistency without like so much repetition that you're just like shoving things in people's faces constantly over and over again. But I think, you and I know it takes more than one interaction with somebody. Sometimes if somebody knows exactly what they're looking for and they hear about it on a podcast or they read about it in an email and it's like an immediate need that's being solved, sure, you might get a purchase right away from that. But oftentimes you don't. And I think about my own purchasing journey and the brands that I align with. It's not often, even if there's something that I know that I want or I'm ready to have, it is very rare if I see something and immediately go and purchase. There's often more research that I'm doing, I'll kind of tuck that away as I'm thinking through this a little bit more. I'll come back to it. And then if, the brand is smart, then I'm getting retargeted. I'm seeing ads. I might sign up for their newsletter. I might follow them on social. I need more brand interaction and I need to see that consistent storytelling. And I need to feel like this is a brand that I trust before I want to spend money on it.
On Brand will be right back after this.
Marketers, Deborah Eckerling here.
And I'm Keith Smith, and we host the MPN Meta Marketing Show, which is not just another marketing podcast, but the marketing podcast about all the other marketing podcasts.
Podcasts are booming, right? We love them, and people actually listen. They don't scroll, they don't swipe, well, except maybe during the ad breaks.
But here's the secret. With the Marketing Podcast Network, your ads don't make people hit skip. We put your brand on shows that people actually want to hear.
That's right. We we match your message with podcasts that make marketing nerds like us perk up and take notes, or at least nod knowingly, pretending they understand.
And don't worry, because we'll deliver your ad naturally. People might even think that we love your brand personally, which of course we totally do, unless it's a veggie smoothie, then maybe not.
If you want your brand heard without making listeners roll their eyes,
head to marketingpodcasts.net and catch marketing fans at work, rest and play. Seriously, your audience is already listening. Make sure they hear your brand and not our awkward jokes.
Join the conversation, because good ads shouldn't just be tolerated, they should be enjoyed.
Yes!
Wow, all these patients complaining they can't get their medicines. Insurers and PBMs are often owned by the same giant company, so middlemen, like me, decide what medicines you can get and how much you pay. But don't worry, if your prescription gets denied, we know another one that works for us. I mean, you.
Washington should stop PBMs and insurers from driving up drug costs. Learn more at phrma.org/insurer costs. Paid for by pharma.
Now, back to the show. So you talked about the brand stories sticking with you. And I think that's another question as we look at integrated communications, thinking about stories on social. What happens when stories don't carry through email experience and even leadership and culture?
Well, I think starting with your employees, and I'm gonna go there first, because people want to work for companies and brands that they feel aligned with, that they can trust also. So if they're hearing one thing from leadership, from their managers, from their internal communications, but then the brand is behaving in a completely different way externally, either misguiding customers, not fulfilling the brand promise to customers, treating customers in a different way, that they are, learning about what kind of the whole ethos of the brand is, the mission of the brand is internally, then that's not great for employee engagement, for employee retention. Again, I think it just goes back to the figure out who you are, figure out who you want to be, figure out what makes you different, why people, your team, your customers, your clients, prospects, whatever they might be, why they should trust you, and then build your brand around that. It seems so simple when I'm saying it out loud, but there can be so many disconnections, because again, if leadership is not aligned, or if leadership's saying one thing internally, but then they're doing something completely different externally, there's an authenticity gap there.
Well, and I think, too, we look at the big examples like Cracker Barrel and we think, oh, it's a big thing that's going to kill trust with my brand. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times it seems like there's a lot of subtle ways that one can erode trust over time and that probably happens more often than not than the great big Cracker Barrels.
Sure. Right. Yeah, exactly. And then again, I think so much of it starts internally too, and building a culture where leaders do what they say they're going to do, their words match their actions, because that all translates to the external side of brand building too, and the external side of integrated communications. It truly starts from within. I fundamentally believe that.
So when you think about leaders who consistently get trust, transparency, authenticity right, who stands out to you and why?
Well, I already mentioned her, so I'm going to bring it back to Brené Brown. But to me, she is the epitome of preaching trust, transparency, and vulnerability among leaders and brands. If anybody watching this has not read any of her books, please start reading them. I just read Strong Ground. I feel like I was studying for a college exam when I was reading it. You and I, the last time we tried to record this episode, we were talking about our tabs. Bring it out so we can see the tabs on the book.
Visual aids, both
Yep.
across the top and vertically here
Yep.
as well.
Yeah. So, she's a social researcher. She's a professor. She's done so much work around leadership. But what I think is great about her is she calls herself out On her podcast, in her book, she will talk about a time when she talks about above and below the line. So she'll talk about times like I was below the line, or, I wasn't ready to rumble with my team in the boardroom. And I said, I know I need to take 15 minutes. I need to take a step back. So she's a great example of somebody who matches actions or words with actions. At least, obviously I don't know her personally, but I trust her based on the content that she shares, the research that she provides, the reality of the examples that she gives of, I'm not always a perfect leader either. And based on my kind of growing up and what has been embedded in me from childhood, I tend to be scared. And when I'm scared, I can be mean. And that's not great for my team. And I know that, but she has built the skills to help work through those things. So she's a really great example. Another one is Liz Plosser. She is the former editor-in-chief of Women's Health. She now writes a Substack, consults with a variety of brands. She's so relatable and inspiring. So she's a journalist, right? So she does her research. She talks with world-renowned experts on the topics that she's writing about. But I trust her immensely. The products that she has recommended, she tries them out. She gives full reviews on them. She talks about what she likes, what she doesn't like. So I've purchased products for my own wellness journey based on what Liz has recommended. But it's because she has built for me a brand of trustworthiness.
So as I grabbed my mini-tabbed copy of Strong Ground off of the shelf, I was just glancing at, what are all these tabs? And several of them, oh gosh, the one I loved, you talked about above, below the line.
Yes.
I love the Lego versus Duplo.
Yes.
Simplicity, love,
Right.
love. And plus, everybody knows Legos. So,
Right.
but a lot of these tabs say, one is just a heart. So I don't know what that language is our portal, or is our portal to meaning making. Yeah. So that's
right.
That's worthy of a heart. But what I was trying to say was a lot of my flags in this are on AI. And I remember, I was going to buy the book. I was going to read the book anyway. So let's just not pretend otherwise. But I remember I heard her talking about it, or I read a post, or she probably said it more than once, but it was writing this book. The context of it was this whole AI question, or a whole AI statement that we hear that, sometimes I feel like kind of the kind of kumbaya stuff about, it's gonna allow us to be the best, or more of the humans. It's gonna take care of all of this, so then we can be just the best human version of whatever. And her response was, I don't know that we're the best humans right now. Right. And I'm like, okay, I'm in. And that's why it's probably full of a lot of those flags and tags. But I wonder, with everything that we're talking about around trust, transparency, authenticity, but AI, because again, that could be a whole wide conversation in and of itself. But as an agency leader right now in a very human business, fostering trust, transparency, authenticity, how do you rumble with AI?
Right. I think it is not realistic to say that AI can't or shouldn't be part of our work. Just a few months ago, we introduced new AI services that have been embedded into our service offerings. We've had a task force at the agency for the past 2 years that has been experimenting with AI, using it for ourselves and for our agency before we do any work with clients. We've been teaching our team members on how to use it and how to use it ethically, what you should use it for, what you shouldn't use it for. So I think it just goes back to that blending of tools and technology with human input. So it's the basics of don't copy and paste something directly from AI. We work in a very creative, strategic, innovative way. So can AI aid us in our work? Can it help us be more efficient? Can it help us do things quicker than we used to be able to do those things? Absolutely. But the things that we've identified that it's not great at is that strategic thinking, relationships, emotional intelligence, empathy, innovation in a way that it's intimately understanding the clients that we work with in a way that AI can't. And I hear you probably know Christopher Penn and Katie from Trust Insights. They might come at me and say like, oh, no, there's a lot more you can do, because I read all their content and I know what it's capable of. I don't use AI to the depth of what they're doing, because Chris Penn is like a data scientist and a wizard. But so can it build a strategic plan? Yes, it can build a strategic plan, but it doesn't understand the nuances of a client relationship and their relationships to their customers, their constituents, their investors, whoever it might be, the way that we do as an agency partner. So I think that is where, again, kind of from an agency PR comms perspective, we need to continue standing out with the reputation management, the relationship building, the strategic thinking, just the intimate understanding of the client needs, goals, and how they need to kind of reach who they're trying to reach, because I don't want AI to do that. I want AI to do the things like that used to take us 3 hours that could maybe take 30 minutes now, and leave us more time for that creative, strategic, innovative thinking.
So well said. And the reminder of Chris Penn makes me think it's the man that's always got a throwing star on him, and with a death grip of a handshake. And despite that, it's still been too long since I have seen him. But it makes me think of something that one of our faculty members at the University of Iowa, who just wrote a book on the responsible use of AI. I love this comparison because it's an overzealous intern.
Mm-hmm.
It is eager to provide you with a lot of stuff.
Right.
But that's not stuff that you want to pass on without looking at it either.
Well, right. And, do I think AI is going to explode and it's not going to be part of our work or our lives in the future? Most likely not, right? But what if it did? So fast forward a few years, what if we became so reliant on using AI for making life decisions, for doing our work? What if it goes away one day? We used to say this about social media, right? Like, don't build, like, your home base for your brand should not be on social media. It needs to be your website. It needs to be your emails, the content that you own. Don't put all your brand equity into digital real estate that you don't own. I feel that's the same way about AI, right? Don't become so over reliant on it that what if it goes away one day? Will you not remember how to write an article or a long form piece of content, or create a strategic plan, or do data analysis and reporting if you don't have that tool to aid you? So we have to continue refining the skills that we've built for so many years. I think about this with my kids too, and I'm working on teaching them the best ways to use AI, but don't become so over reliant on it that you don't remember how to do those foundational things that you spent years and years practicing, honing, and mastering.
I'm gonna tee you up for the brand that's made you smile with a segue from the world of AI. Look at this. Every time I'm a deer in headlights when someone said, "What's a brand that made you smile?" and I'm like, rushing. And I've identified one earlier, and I've got another one because we talk about AI making mistakes. And in my own journey, I've been just experimenting with different things. And I've been using and liking Gemini lately. And I love, and it's a throwback because I remember what made Google stand out was the simplicity of that search box as opposed to everything else. But the Ask Gemini box, right below that is a line of text that says, Gemini can make mistakes, so double check it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, maybe that is the simplicity of the search box of today. I hope people see that. I hope people read it. But at the very least, a company that knows something about visual real estate put a pretty important bottom line up front, literally.
Yes, right. I love that.
So, Nikki, what is a brand that has made you smile recently?
I have two examples. So at the time of this recording, we are about a month out from the holidays. So this example is still very fresh in my mind, but Chevy's Memory Lane holiday commercial was so good. They had a longer version that was maybe 3 or 4 minutes, and then the shorter version that aired on, TV and broadcast. But talk about storytelling. Oh my gosh. But it was so authentic. It was not cheesy. I mean, those types of stories with those, the memories of the childhood, and those easily can cross into the like corny, cheesy lane. It was so good. So that one is definitely still fresh in my mind. And then there's a company called Mabel's Labels. I ordered custom labels for my kids because, things need to be labeled everywhere for school, for sports. They're constantly forgetting things, losing things. So we are still in our label everything era. So I ordered from Mabel's Labels because I've ordered from them in the past. The order never showed up. I contacted customer service, got a response right away, told me, hey, let's wait until this date. Sometimes the postal delivery could be a little delayed. I reached that date. The customer service person proactively reached back out to me and said, hey, Nikki, did you ever receive that order? And I had a note to get back to them because I hadn't received the order, but I was floored because you don't usually get proactive outreach from customer service from a brand, right? So I said, actually, I never received the order. She was like, no problem. We'll put out a new order for you. Here's your order number. Here's the shipping time. And I was like, customer for life.
Yeah, boy, what a simple dynamic of proactive customer service versus reactive. And it reminds me, that's like what the offline brick and mortar businesses that we love to support, that's the kind of thing that they do. And just doing that, like you said, customer for life. And
I think that's a good example to kind of round out our conversation here, but like this stuff's not hard. It's not rocket science. You stand out by being somebody who can proactively reach out to your customer when you know they're having a problem, by being reliable, trustworthy, authentic, honest. Like these are just core components of being a good human. So take what you want, hopefully, to do in your life as a kind, trustworthy, reliable human, translate that to your brand. And that's how you're going to stand out, because there are so many brands and so many leaders who are doing the exact opposite today.
Awesome. Big smile for Mabel's Labels.
Yes.
Nikki, where can folks go to learn more about who you are and what you do?
Yes, on LinkedIn, can find me there. And then on our website, which is Franco, Franco.com.
Awesome. And we will link up to all of that in our show notes, which folks can find at onbrandpodcast.com. Nikki Little, thanks for being on brand with us.
Thank you. This was fun.
Oh my God, we made it to the end of the recording. I'm still recording a little bit because I feel like leaving this on just because, holy cow, confetti, sickness,
thank goodness.
Power outages. Extreme cold. We persevered. We did it.
Oh, yay. Awesome.
On Brand is part of the Marketing Podcast Network. If you like what you're hearing, if we've made you smile, you can always listen free on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or whatever your favorite platform may be. And please take a moment and rate and review the podcast to help others find the show. Until next week. I'm Nick Westergaard, and I'll see you on the internet.
This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.